Shall I start, ma'am?
Yes. Sumitra's here.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, we can start.
Okay, ma'am. Good evening and welcome. Ma'am, is it audible?
Yes, start.
Okay, ma'am. Good evening and welcome to the fortnightly symposium of In Tandem Research Club of the Department of English, Queen Mary's College. Mitra Loganathan, first MA English, and your companion for this delightful evening. Today, we are on the top on the theme called Fiction to Film, and through today's session, we are going to explore the fictions that transfer into film. With this note, I welcome our chairperson. I deem it an honor to introduce our chairperson, Dr. P. Sitharthan, Assistant Professor, PG and Research Department of English, Presidency College, Chennai. Thank you for your presence, sir. I welcome our paper presenters. I welcome our paper presenters, Ms. Swetha S., First MA English, University of Madras, Chennai. Ms. Kavya Bharathi, ML Data Associate at Amazon. Ms. Senyavel P., Second MA English, University of Madras. I extend my warm welcome to the faculty members, research scholars, and PG students who are at this forum. Now, I request our chairperson to take over the proceedings.
Thank you very much. It's a wonderful evening. To start with, I would like to thank Dr. Preeti Srinivasan and the department and her colleagues for giving me a wonderful opportunity to have an idea and also to have a very good discussion on a highly debatable topic. Okay, yes, that is the adaptation of literature to films. So I'm happy that we have three paper presentators. One is Swetha, Kavya, and the third one is Senyavel. Okay, yes, sir. So three interesting topics to discuss with. Okay, yes, sir. See, to start, before going for the presentation, I would like to share a few of my thoughts on the adaptation theory. See, I told you this is the one that is highly debatable. Okay. Yes. So, what is the right adaptation? When exactly the right adaptation happens from literature to film? So, this is a $1 million question and a lot of deliberations going on. The adaptation theory is somewhat related to the translational theory, like what? There are certain things that we need to strictly adhere with the original source, but at the same time, there are a few freedoms that we can take and we can move out of the original source. But what is that exactly? What is that exactly you should go by, and what are the liberties that you can take? That is the point that we discussed, and we will discuss in length. Okay, while the presentation moves on, I request Swetha to give her presentation on examining the multifaceted medium of the streetcar named desires, a comparative analysis of the text, theoretical performance, and film adaptation. Yes, Swetha, please. Shweta
Yes,
here?
sir. 1 minute, sir.
No problem. Take your own time. No problem. Yes.
Yes, sir. Am I visible and audible, sir?
Yeah, you are very much audible. Yes. Please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Good evening, all. My name is Swetha. I'm studying in University of Madras. I'm studying in a first MA. And today my topic is examining the multifaceted medium of the play Streetcar Named Desire, which won the Pulitzer Prize Award in 1940. And it was adapted as a movie in 1951. The actors are very much known. The male lead, played the heroine of the film Blanche, which was acted by Vivian Leigh, a famous Shakespearean actor of that time. And the significance of this play is realism in America. This play is by Tennessee Williams, and he played a major and significant role in the 20th century American drama. We we are all very familiar with this play, The Glass Menagerie, and his character in the Glass Menagerie, Amanda character is quite similar with the character here is Blanche. I like to go in detail of this play, Streetcar named Desire. I'll tell you about the play, the whole plot in just a few lines. The setting of this play is after the World War. The place where the hero or heroine were settled here, New Orleans. It was a southern part of America. The play starts in May, in the month of May. It was heat there, and it has some significance of the May, which is heat. Operation start from the first scene itself. The play sets in New Orleans after the World War II, where Stella lives with her husband Stanley. Stella is a sister of Blanche Dubois, and both Stella and Blanche were aristocrat ladies. But after a period of time, Stella runs away with Stanley and moves to New Orleans. And in the meantime, Stella had a quite decent life with Stanley, but this life is not up to the standards for Blanche. But Blanche lost all her properties and moved to her sister's house. And with this complexion, Stella's husband Stanley meets Blanche. Blanche came to Stella's house for to stay because she lost her all properties, which is in Bellevue, her plantation, her properties, all she left, and she has a mysterious past. Now she literally had no place to go and live, so she moved to Stella's house. There, Stanley is a brutish animal instinct man with animal instinct. Doesn't like Blanche because Blanche is a very fragile woman, and she lives in a world of imaginary world. And if you hold her in a rough manner, she will break down. She has some mental illness. It was mentioned in the text as nerves, and it is a disorder for her whenever she was in the trauma because of her past incidents. She want to overcome the trauma, so she moved to her sister's house. But here, and the antagonist Stanley does not understand her past. But lives luxurious life and she lost everything. Now she came here and looking for so he don't like her. Eventually, Stanley, who plays bowling, he likes the poker game. He is like kind of brute, and he have some friend circle. One friend called Mitch, whom Blanche falls in love with because Mitch is a very gentle character who understands her and who treats her in a good manner. But when Blanche told her sister that Stanley was a brute, offense, Stanley doesn't like this attitude of Blanche. From that onwards, Stanley want to destroy the spiritual the spirit of Blanche. From that onwards, he mistreats her, and he investigate on he investigates the past of Blanche, and he explains this events to Mitch. Unfortunately, Mitch hears everything and he breaks off from the engagement with Blanche. Blanche was very much devastated and she goes mad. Even when Mitch comes to her and he told her that I don't want to marry you. She breaks off and kicks him out. Called like she called like fire because the heat, the internal rage within her was reflected by the words. And at last, mm, uh, Stanley comes. Stella is pregnant, and at this time she get the labor pain. So she went to the hospital. There, Stella and Stanley and Blanche were in the and Stanley Stanley take advantage of Blanche and he rapes her. She was completely devastated. Her spiritual, mental health became uh, very much mistreated, and she was completely devastated. At last, she was taken by the doctors for her treatment, but at first she refused to go, and after that, she agrees to go with the doctors because she felt some comfort with the strangers than their own relatives. Whereas Stella, who plays a mild role, she loves Stanley. She loves Blanche at the same level, but she could not do anything for Blanche. She keeps on supporting her, but she can't rebel to Stanley. This is the short, I think it's a brief summary of the play. Blanche was, as I told you before, she was very fragile. And a particular quote which Blanche says, I don't want realism, I want magic. It was very significant that she wants to live in the world of magicality. She does not want to want the real life where in the New Orleans, because the place in New Orleans was multicultural, and where the blacks, Latin American, everyone comes in this one place and they live happily. It was the two room. It was like a one room, and it was divided into two sections. But in Belle Reve, she was an aristocrat, and she live her life. She spends her life very lavishly. But here, she could not take the dirty, narrow. The streetcar is very near to the house, so the sound every time she hear the horn sound, she gets afraid of that sound. Each of the minute things upset her, and she always compare her situation, how she lived before, but how come she fallen to this kind of place. But she kind of adjusts to the circumstances because she has no money to go to a hotel, or she has no relatives to go to a place to stay. I want to distinguish between what the essence of the play as a text, as a theatrical performance, and as a film. I watched this. I read this play once, and I have watched movie the 1951 Marlon Brando acted version, and I have seen the play performed by United College Theatrical Group. And interestingly, the film had its own essence than the text. In film, there was highly symbolical. It was highly symbolical in visual, but in text, when we analyze each and every line, we come to know the symbolism. But whereas in the film, we can observe the scenes. So I want to highlight these particular three scenes. First one is arrival of the Blanche. In text, it was like three people sitting in a steps, and Blanche come to New Orleans. One is Eunice. In that, one is Eunice. Eunice is a person who lives in upstairs, and Stella and Stanley lives in downstairs. Blanche comes and ask to Eunice. The particular quote is, they told me to take a streetcar named Desire. She came from Desire, and she want to go to the cemeteries, which is the line itself highly symbolical, and which is which we can understand the symmetries line at the last, and ride 6 blocks and get off at that is the line quoted by Blanche, and she comes to the Elysian Fields. But in the play, it was acted as it is, but in the film, Blanche come to New Orleans. First, she found a worker, a worker, a common worker, and she asked to the common worker, where is it? Where is the place called New Orleans? The major difference is, whereas in when we read or when we saw a performance, the place and space of a performance is congested, is construct it is constricted to one single. If I perform here, I only have the space to act in here. But whereas in film, I can move, I can show one scene from this place, and I can show another scene in another place. So I the introduction is made from a commoner to we come to know the other characters. But in the text, we come to know the characters where arrival of Blanche. The second scene, it was where Stanley and Blanche had a quarrel. It was Blanche who break to defend her. And in text, it was written as Tiger, Tiger. Stanley calls her Tiger, Tiger. Drop the bottle top, drop it. We have had this date with each other from beginning. And description, and this description was perfectly. Um, uh, this was a perfect description, and the play also projects it very clearly. And when he lifts after the dialogue, in the play, he lifts Blanche, and he go to the bed and drops her. The lights suddenly fades out. Whereas in film, theater drop the bottle top, drop it. After he told the lines, he break a mirror with the same bottle. See the face of Blanche, which was which Blanche was in the state of she faints there in the scene in movie. In the mirror, the broken mirror, we can see the Blanche faces like this, and she was fainted. And the major difference difference between the play and a film. In play, her the action was closed by the lights, and in film, it was carried out symbolically as the broken mirror, because she was after this incident she was broken off. It was like foreshadowing of the character. And what I have to highlight is, in play we have only lights to we have only lights to break one scene to another scene, or we can tell that we can project one actor's emotion by changing the lights, where it is red when the person is angry, when it's blue when they are melancholy, like that. We can change the lights according to the emotion. Whereas in film, we don't tell everything like a text. In film, it was highly like very symbolic. The symbolism here is the mirror only. And the last scene I want to highlight is the ending scene, the significance of the ending. In text, it was plainly described as she went with the doctor, and there is no turning back at Stella, and Stella was sobbing, and Stanley wants to have a Stanley was very calm, and he was very relieved that Blanche is gone out. In play, when the doctor calls doctor calls Blanche, she heard the echo. When the doctor say, "Come, Blanche," it was acted as, "Come, Blanche, come, Blanche, come, Blanche." So it was acted as it is. They modified it, that from the text, and they added the echoes. And in the exit, Blanche exit with Blanche stares at Stella, and there is no dialogues after that, and she went away. And Stella was looking very pale, and she was very silent. She is helpless. We can observe that Stella was helpless, but they come friend, and they Stanley hugs her. That that shows his relief that Blanche is gone. Whereas in the backside of the theater, the other friends plays the poker game. The place is very short. The congested place shows the distance of the they have only one door to separate the main actors and the friends. After that, Blanche went away, and Stella was helplessly crying with her baby. That was acted in the play, whereas in film, the echo was presented, and Stanley Stanley and Mitch had a fight when they took away Blanche, and but in the end, in the film, Stella was very rebellious, and the scene was ended with a car took Blanche, and the car goes away. The play started from the streetcar, ended the film. Sorry, the film started with the streetcar and ends with a car. It is as I said before, the symbolic language was also. First, I mentioned bottle and mirror, and now it is the with a high hope for the better future. Her hopes are high and happy. She want to meet her sister when she come to the place in the streetcar named Desire. Now she went away with all her hopes are down, and her spiritual and mental self was affected, and she was devastated and broken down to earth. She has nowhere to go, and even the place was which was her sister's place, but she can't find peace at this place. So she was ready to go with a stranger, a doctor, than to believe in law. And when she goes away with in the car, the in film, Stella picks her baby and she climbs up the stairs and go to the Eunice's house. And she want to go back to Stanley even when she calls from downstairs as Stella, Stella, Stella. The rebellious character of Stella was projected only in the film, not in the play or as in text. In the text and play, it was plainly said Stella was supported by supports Blanche, or she wants to protect her, but only in the film she was a rebel, and she make her decision very bold, and she went upstairs. All her whereas Blanche after that, nowhere in the place, we don't know what happened to Blanche or what happened to other characters. That's how the story ends. And in the play or on the text, the play and text was ended with the quote, "This game is seven card stud." This shows the passion for Stanley to pursue the poker game. Like, this is my game. I win each and every game. But whereas in film, he want to show he was projected as very lovely to Stella. Without Stella, he can't live alone. It was projected as that. The significance of the ending was a bit different from the text and play, because in text and play it was highlighted as it was his game, whereas in he also wanted to be loved from someone. The major difference of the text, theater, and film is the text was very descriptive in the scenes, characters, and music. Whereas in theater, it was just the picturization of the text with a minimal modification. But in the film, it was highly visually symbolical. If you don't look at the scenes like the bottle, mirror, and the streetcar, and went off with the car, that are the major significance. And at the start, we have the blacks. This is a very multicultural place, New Orleans, after the World War II. The changing, we can find a lot of changing aspects of changing phases of America, multiculturalism. It was descriptive in the text, and in the theater performance, the character of the person, and the significance of the culturalism is very performed very little, because the when you set one play one you when you have one place and one set, you can't show many things like the bowling game, and the street cars. You can't show the street car in the set, because it is very what could I say? It is very disturbing, because the house itself set in the big place. We can't show that streetcar, but in the movie we have many positive aspects, like we can show the multiculturalism. For example, in the film, we go to a club and they dance for the jazz music. As I said before, in the text, it was portrayed as multiculturalism. The jazz music was presented, and in the club, both men and female from different races, different background, they come to the club and they live in harmony. They don't say we are Americans, we are Latin American. No, there is no such discrimination in New Orleans. We can find this beautiful element in the film. And they go to the the first Blanche go to bowling places, and she watches people playing the poker game. So it was shown very multi-dimensionally. And as a description of character in text, Blanche was portrayed as fragile, lives in a imaginary world. She don't in the light. She comes always at night. She hates the light. She want to preserve her beauty. And when we saw the character of Stanley, it was opposite to the character of Blanche. He brutish and contrast with Blanche. He was upset that he don't have the property of his wife. We can he used to call it as Napoleonic Code, which gives which is a law in America. Why your wife's property will be carried out to the husband. And when he knows Blanche lost the property, he gets angry. And Blanche told uh, Blanche speaks bad about his character. From then only he acted very brutishly towards Blanche. Usually he was very instinctive. He don't think and act. He act and don't think. And whereas in play, especially I'm not satisfied with the performance of Blanche in the theater performance, because it was portrayed as Blanche was very confident, and she was very aristocratic manner and disgusted by the circumstances. Her fragility here was not shown perfectly. And Stanley has a bold but gentle in the play. He was portrayed as a gentle but bold. He also has the animal instinct behavior. After he hears the conversation, where Stella and Blanche spoke bad about him. And in the play, Mitch was very gentle but disappointed when when he knows the truth about Blanche. In contrast, when we take the analysis of the film, Blanche was very, very, very fragile and weak. She had the aristocratic manner, but she was acted as if she was very, very weak. And Stanley, he was very rough, and he completely disliked Blanche from the start. When she arrives, he tells that the dialogue between them. He tells that, oh, you are an English teacher. I heard about. Yeah, I'm not always a good student of English. He talks about that, and he really dislikes her. Whenever he sees a person who's like dressed up, have a good corner for them. And in the film, Mitch was portrayed as very, very arrogant. He was nearly like Stanley because when they had the quarrel, he pushes Blanche to pushes Blanche in a wall. But nowhere in the film, nowhere in the text, it was portrayed as like the film, and he don't tolerate Blanche's life, and he went off. This is the difference which I observe in these three mediums of performance. And last, I want to tell that adaptation. I want to focus this area. Adaptation as a translation. Translated text may or may not be compulsory.
Shweta, excuse me, Shweta.
Yes, sir.
Uh, yeah, it's getting too much of time. Please try
Yes,
to
sir, sir.
make it a little bit
I'm about to
precise.
finish.
Yeah, yes.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sorry, sir.
No problem, no problem. Go
Yes,
ahead.
sir. Thank you. Translated text may or may not be compulsory to be loyal to the source text. If we translate, we can lose. We can't find the exact phrase or words to the adopted text. Even we have this problem in every translation text. If I found a word in Tamil, I cannot match that same word in English. Like that, adaptation can't fulfill. Text has its own ethics, and whereas cinema has its own ethics. Likewise, it is not to visualize everything in the text and be loyal to the source text. In film, we have different ethics to follow, and each of this medium had some objectives. In theater, it is only just it gives life to the text, and it brings out the character to a stage, and if the text shows the realism and portraying the life of America, whereas the film, it covers the wider audience, and it gives the text in a visual effect. And that is all I want to share. And as I want to that I we always complain that text is better than the film, and I'm not satisfied with the film, but we have to understand each and everything is an own individual art form. We have to accept it. There is no good translation and no bad translation, but we have to understand each and every medium as its own. We must respect its own ethics, and we have to give life to more books where whatever the medium is. And we have to appreciate the hard works of the each medium person, and that is all it's in. Thank you so much. Sorry, this is my first presentation. I am so nervous. Sorry if I do anything wrong in between, sir. Sorry, sir.
Wonderful, wonderful, Swetha. Yes, it doesn't look like it's your maiden presentation. So you seem to be a seasoned presenter. Okay, yeah, it's good. Your presentation was very good. Okay, you put forth a lot of ideas behind it. It was highly informative. Now, by observing the presentation of Swetha, okay, yes, I just summarize, okay, yeah, for a better understanding. So what she says is what the adaptation, okay, with respect to the text, to the stage, and to the film. So how far the play and the film are what true to the original source, okay, yes, with respect to the characters, plot and themes. Yes, it's all this. Okay, the characters, plot and themes are all what strictly adhering to the original play. So that is what the first thing. So there is no questioning of the fidelity here, because that is the normal question that has been raised in adaptation as well as in translation. Then, of course, there are changes. It's not that 100% is true to the story. There are a few changes in the story, okay, where the liberty is given to the director, the stage director or the film director. You can see a few changes, like rightly mentioned by the rebellious change of character by Stella, okay, which is not there in the text. Okay, so a few what changes like what minor plot changes. Okay, yeah, a few scenes were rearranged and then altered, and some are omitted. So this is part and parcel, and definitely it should be done in order to bring a better screenplay. And the third point I'd like to see is what she said. The role played by Blanche in the play was not so impressive when compared to the what a role played by Blanche in the film. Yes, that is because purely it's because of cinematic techniques. Okay, because you have a lot of technical support, like you can bring in close-ups, because that's a Blanche character is very delicate. That is why Marlon Brando failed to get the what Oscar award, whereas Vivian Lee, who played Blanche, got the what Oscar award. As well as the supporting actors also went for the role played by Stella. So Marlon Brando, he put it like what in Tamil cinema. Uh, uh, this Balu Mahendra's or that movie Devi and Kamal Hassan they acted. Uh, so Kamal Hassan had given his heart and soul to the film, whereas he was not given the national award. Devi backs the award because that it purely goes by the delicacy of the character. Okay, that can be what shown visually and the performance. Okay, yes, that also the performance plays a key role. Okay, yes, in whereas in the text it is all the words. So the words given.
Senyavel says Moonram Pirai. She
Ah,
gave the
Moonram
name
Pirai.
of the movie.
Yeah, yeah, yes, yes, yes. Yes, it's of the movies Moonram Pirai. Moonram Pirai. So equally, they act well. Kamal Hassan on one end, on the other end, Devi. But Devi gets the national award, whereas award Kamal Hassan fails to get. The same way I see here, Marlon Brando couldn't able to get the Oscar award, whereas Vivian Leigh get what the Oscar award because of that's purely because of the scope the character has to what to get enacted. So, fine. So, coming back to the performance, yes, the performance plays a major role. For example, you take Marlon Brando, he's known for method acting, and in movie Nayagan, Kamal Hassan, gets the influence of Marlon Brando and comes out with a wonderful, memorable character, very Nayagan. Okay, so Marlon Brando, then we have these two female characters. Okay, yes, wonderful performance made the movie what stand apart. And the great thing about the film is what success. Success in two ways. Okay, it should be critically successful as well as commercially. Both the ways it should be because the commercial success is not what will not make the movie to a greater level. Critically and commercially, it has to be successful. And this movie was what successful in both the ways, and it is also what an important movie, an American what a classic cinema. So you mentioned all these points. It was very nice, and it's a wonderful presentation. Now we'll go for questions. Okay, so anybody would like to ask questions? Okay, yes, Shweta is ready to answer you. Any questions? Any receiver's response here?
I would like to give my comments and question,
Please.
Professor Siddharth.
Yeah, please.
Hello, Swetha. This is Dr. Shobha from Anna University, and I have listened to your presentation on this topic. Indeed, it was quite interesting because for a postgraduate student to explore how a text works and also to look at the various ideas that are presented in a play. I think that's very interesting, and you really did a good job of taking us through the story of the play and explaining the themes so well. My advice to you would be, I hope you have read the text, A Theory of Adaptation, Linda Hutchins' text. That is like a key text in this area. Okay. See, as postgraduate students, I think we are very, we are lost in the story and we are amazed by the performance, especially when you look at a film or like Professor was explaining. Like, when you talk about Moonram Pura, you imagine only, all those characters. But then in the theory of adaptation by Linda Hutchin, she talks about all these nitty-gritties of performance and what happens when a fiction becomes a film, because that is the crux of this presentation, right? So you very well you explained the fiction. So when it comes to film, what aspects need to be explored, I wish you go through that book, take down some theoretical aspects, and then I think you will understand more about the story that you have read and explained. Okay, so I know that there will be other questions and other comments, so I don't want to take much time. But once you try and juxtapose those two things, you will feel like you have done a very meaningful and purposeful job. Okay, so that is what we all did when we were postgraduate students. We used to think about theoretical texts. Of course, fitting a text into a theory is not always recommended, but then it will enhance our understanding of the text itself, especially when you're talking about fiction to film. I'm glad I attended this. So thank you to the organizers and congratulations to you, Shweta. Thank you, Professor Siddharth.
Welcome.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you for the compliment. I'll try to read the whole book, ma'am. I promise you I will read the whole book,
Yeah,
ma'am.
I'll
Thank
just
you.
put the title and the author in the chat box so that many of you can refer to it if you want.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
So
I'll check.
it's a Bible, like theoretical validation is very important, right? Like rightly said by ma'am. Yes, fine. Any other questions, please? Fine. Shall we move on to the next speaker?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So I request Kavya Bharathi to present the theorizing adaptation from fiction to film, a study of select works.
Yeah, yes.
Yes. Yes, Kavya.
Good evening to everyone. Is my
Yes.
screen visible? Yeah, thank you. I will be presenting today on the topic theorizing adaptation from fiction to film, a study of selected works from pages to screen. So first, it is look into the process of from pages to screen. We need things that has to be done. So first, we need a promising piece of literature, whether it be a successful one or a piece of literature, you can go ahead. And we always have books published by publishing houses, and from there or from the author, the rights must be brought by the production house, and then starts the real magic or real task, which is writing the screenplay. So once the filmmaker is done with writing the screenplay, they will look for actors who would fulfill everything, and then we have the post production of editing and doing the RR and everything. And then after all the advertising and everything is done, it comes to release, and we all enjoy it in a form of film. A number of works which have been adapted into books, and these have many reasons that it has become so successful. So first, it will reach a wider audience. Obviously, there are lesser readers than watchers. So, a good work, a good piece of literature, or a very well written film that will reach a wider section. And then there is teamwork. Like usually, if we take in the Indian film industry, everything is written by one person. Like we always tend to see that films, like all the four major works are done by one person. So there are chances that it may not be like very well in that case when one person is doing all the role, and when there is a team, like we already have a story, we have a dialogue writer, and we have a screenplay writer, and it is directed by someone else. We have a team working on uh, one thought, and for to make one story come to screen, so it obviously becomes successful. And words to life, like we tend to see emotions written in words. Like when we read novels, we adapt to what that will be a bias of our emotion, and then having the character's emotion there. So that words to life is like somewhat biased to every reader. Obviously, that's what it makes it special. Like the reading is, that's what why it is always customized to every reader. But when we do this, when there is a lot of R&D going behind, and then the words come to life in screen, we have the exact notion of the author there, and it's beneficial to both the industries. Like even there might be chances like once the movie is a hit, the film is a hit, and there might be chances that people go back to book. Okay, this is the movie, fine, but there is always a thing like text is always more personal than a movie. So let me go and read the book again. Like let me go and read and experience it in words. So it is beneficial to both the industries. So I have five movies and other secondary sources I had on the examples of adaptations. So let's first move on to the first work I took. So this To Kill a Mockingbird. It was adapted into a film in the year 1962. So the book was made into the well-received 1962 film, which the same title starring George Peck and Finch produced Alan J. Pakula. So this movie is by the To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. So this book was released in the year 1960, and in 2 years it was adapted into a film. So it won three Oscars for Best Actor and Best Art Direction, Set Decoration, and Best Writing Screenplay based on a material from another medium. So, and also it had eight other nominations in the Academy Awards, and it totally won three awards. And it was also released as a graphic novel in the year 2018, and it was also performed as a play in 1990 in Monroeville, the literary capital of Alabama. So, whole this story is like uh, is an example or representation of American racism, the society there. Everything comes together, but from the eye of a child. So all these together will make like an amazing text, and when it's transformed in film, and obviously it won awards, so it was like promising as an adaptation. Next we have Little Woman. Little Woman is a 2019 American coming of age period drama. It is a seven adapted 11th film. So it chronicles the lives of four sisters of the March family: Meg, Jo, Beth, and Amy, who are in Massachusetts in the 19th century. It also received six nominations in the 92nd Academy Awards. So this is an example of like the movie came in 2019, but the novel was written in 1868. So we have a century gap, a solid century gap in between the adaptation and the movie written. So this book is like a time capsule for the 19th century. No one could go and visit Massachusetts in 19th century. So this, when made into a movie in 2019, it bridges the gap between time. Like we get to know how life was there, how the women were there, how women were struggling, how women what were the roles they had. This whole family of March will be only four sisters and the mother. So how hard it was for them to survive even as a so-called wealthy family, and how so the whole society, the whole the whole idea of women, the lives of women in the 19th century can be seen in the movie. Like we can anyway go back to the book, but the movie coming in 2019 is like a time machine. Like we can go there and see and come back. Next, we have The Color Purple. The Color Purple is a 1985 American epic coming of age drama film directed by Steven Spielberg and written by Menno Pages, and it was based on the Pulitzer Prize winning novel The Color Purple by Alice Walker, which was published in the year 1982. So the film was box office success as well. And this book, like when we read, there will be so much of sadness and why should this happen to Silly Harris, the protagonist, and why so much of darkness, so much of pain that this community has to go through. The African American community, the women in this community who are like double marginalized, and why should they have to go through all these questions will be in our mind. But in this movie, in 1985 movie, we have Oprah Winfrey playing the protagonist. So such an icon. She is a global icon. If we go on women, she's a woman icon. If you go to America, she's an American icon. And in America, if you go deeper, she's an Afro American woman icon. So we have such a great artist coming into Alice Walker's book, and she's playing the protagonist. Then we can see more of it. While we're reading, we could succumb to just one emotion like sadness. Like why so much of things like so sad, and why so much of complication in the relationship of like father, mother, the children. Like it runs to generation. The book runs to generations. Like there's so much of confusion and things going on. So why so much sadness should be there? But then when it is transformed into a movie, we could see much more dimensions of it. I saw when I saw the movie, it was like, okay, fine, it's not just sadness in it. There is more to it. There are more emotions to it. So we could relate on that way in this movie. And we have Sense and Sensibility. So again, as something like Little Woman, Sense and Sensibility is written by Jane Austen, a very important author in English literature. And this is the 1995 movie directed by Ang Lee. And we have the Dashwood sisters, the whole family uh, just succumbing to their social norms of going on to their cousin and their mother suffering to get these sisters get married and all the societal pressure that in the 19th century and all that. So this is again an example of like something in 1811. The book was written in 1811 by Jane Austen, and we have the movie in 1995. And again, there is a popularity to the work, and we go back to the author, like more works of the author, and we read that. We read another works like Emma, Pride and Prejudice. We have so much of Jane Austen. So, we could just go back to her anytime. Like, and this movie especially is like a very good example of what society was, how women were there, what were the roles of women and men, and how the English society was there. So again, it's a time capsule. And infamous Harry Potter. So Harry Potter is J.K. Rowling, and the series started in uh, in 1997. The first book was released in 1997. And we have the first movie releasing in 2002, and the last book was released in 2007. And the last movie was released in 2011. 2007. The last book was released, and in 2011 we had the last movie. So Harry Potter is always said like it. Like we have so many movie adaptations. From the period of silent movies, we have so many movie adaptations of books, and this Harry Potter series is said to be one of the most accurate one to what the text was and what was the movie. So, and again, we have a series coming up in HBO Max on Harry Potter as well. Okay, so series have a lot of time to be more attention to detail. Like into a series, we can in the movies, and if we if we door for series again. So this is like another set of like another variant of movie adaptation. Like that will be a real life inspiration, and then there is a fiction or a non-fiction text on the real life incidents, and then that incident or that piece of work is a piece of literature is adapted into a movie. So one such is Hidden Figures. So Hidden Figures is a 2016 American biographical drama. It was directed by Mel P, and it was also written by the same person. And it is loosely based on a 2016 non-fiction book of the same name by Shetterly about three female African American mathematicians, like who worked in NASA and whose work would have been hidden if not for some stories coming upon like they had in each and every project. Like they were like they did two projects, like putting the man to the orbit of Earth, and then after the subsequent project of the same variant in NASA. So this works would have been unknown, but because of this 2016 text, it came out, and later it was also adapted into a movie. So we know these three wonderful women who contributed to the project, NASA projects. The release of the novel and almost a century long, and finally hitting the screens after so many people wanting to make it into a movie. And this was epic. Like we have the the whole Ponniyin Selvan, like that's a big 5-part book. If we take the whole 5-part was released in released in the weekly weekend every week, and it was done twice since 1955. It was done twice, and then we had the movie finally releasing in September of 2022. So this book is like an example of how great a text to screen adaptation would be. Like we do had so many previous movies which were adapted which were books which were adapted into movies in Kollywood as well, but this just had a mark, or like this is what a good writing, a good story, like an iconic story would do. And this is an example that it is not always the story. Like there is the whole story is like known for three generations, like three generations of people who would have known read the weekly. Like it came twice in the weekly magazine, so it is like a very very well known story. And even then there are so many audience coming to the theaters because it is the power of literature that it will bring. Okay, let me see Kundavai, let me see Nandini, how she is, how is that the same way that I imagine her, is that the same way I imagine Karigalan to be, are they fighting right? Like there were so many so many people who are like just noting down, okay, this is what I read, this is what is there in the screen. So there are so many comparisons, so many joy over this popular text made into a movie. And then there were other Tamil films which were also based on literature works, and we have Asuran, which was released in 2019, and is actually based on Vekai by Pumani. Vekai is a short story, like novella, and Vekai is the one that was made into Asuran. And we have the latest movie Vidudalai, is a part one of Vidudalai. It is also movie adaptation of the short story by J. Mohan called Tunai one. So uh, the commonality is it is both directed by Vitri Maran, and he's also uh, also more into literature, that he believes that if there is a good writing and that story when it and these two are just example of his belief, I would say, version of entertainment. What how the movies coming to digital form, like movies coming to films, have changed, and we have since lockdown, most of us started watching series, but even before even before a lot of time, and we have a very long duration compared to movies, and that makes so much attention. Game of Thrones, which is based on the book series written by George R.R. Martin, is called A Song of Ice and Fire. And the Song of Ice and Fire, to talk about it, is based on the War of Roses. We have it in a social history of England, like War of Roses, and also touches of French history, like before the French Revolution, like centuries before the French Revolution, the political game of the aristocrats, the kings and queens, and then with the War of Roses, we have like Lancaster's York coming together in one story like that runs to seven books, and we still have two unreleased books in Song of Ice and Fire series, but the Ice and Fire book series, but the television series is complete. And this is a massive work. Like there is so much thing, like you can't bring a medieval period come to life just like that. So there is so much effort, so much R&D going behind, and we see it on screen, though it's fictional. Like we have dragons flying, we have a zombie like people coming and fighting. So these are all fictional, fictional. So these are all the fantasy elements that are in a book. It blows off fire, like this huge dragon. About dragons okay, our imagination has no boundaries. Like we can't exactly get to what the author is saying sometimes. And the gap is bridged by amazing series technique, and we have adaptation of book adaptation, prequel to Game of Thrones, written by the same author George R.R. Martin. And these are again two different fantasy and period dramas. This is also coming up as series. The Vampire Diaries was written by L.J. Smith and Opie Clark, and the Bridgerton book series was written by Julia Quinn. And both, we don't see vampires in daylight, or we don't get to see vampires roaming around streets in real life. So that fantasy element, that unknown, is get to be known by other series. And then we have Chitan, which is set in the Regency era. Like we have debutantes, we have the dance, the ball, the social diamond. We have all the terms of the Regency era, and if you read the book, we'll have some understanding. But in Bridgerton, importantly, the costumes and hair dress what makes it great, because like in the when we read the book, okay, we have an elaborate hairstyle, we have an elaborate gown to the worn by Queen Charlotte, and the Regency era, so and so. We have this kind of dresses, this kind of balls, and that's how it goes. But when we see it in screen, like we have whatever. There's a Netflix series. Like when we see in the Netflix, we can just get to bridge. Okay, this is how the Regency era would have been. So this is how the period would have been, and this is what the people would have thought how to get their daughter married, their son married. So that is their main intention. So this is how this series goes. So concluding, like always text is personal, and in some ways when we have our imagination limited, and when we have a feeling like this is what we want, series like series is the new way. So when we get to know that, we will have like an exact adaptation. If done right, and brought up text to screen works, it will be great. Thank you.
Yes, good. It's a good presentation, Kavya. Yeah, the presentation, yeah, is an illustration of wide spectrum of movies, movies of different shades. Yes, it was good, and you can see of all the movies are being adapted. By the commonality of all the movies is what adapted from great literary works, very popular, familiar literary works. So award-winning literary works. So this is a very big challenge. Making a movie of a familiar text, which is widely read by the readers. Okay, yes, that will become a big challenge for the directors to make it what by staying true to the source as well as to what he has to what bring in what give life to the words and bring it to the visual medium. It's a big challenge. And, yes, here set of movies that you illustrated are the two examples. They are very successful. Good. Now, one takeaway point here is what the success behind the adopted movies. Okay, yes, is will be beneficial to both the industries, right? We said yes. So it is purely complementary, and that's a good idea. So with these words, I would like to what, come down to the audience. Okay, any questions here? Anyone would like to ask questions to Kavya so that we can move on to the third speaker? Any questions? Okay. Shall we move on to the third speaker now? Fine. So now I invite Senyavel to what, give a presentation on Bigscreen to Bigscreen. Senyavel, please.
Am I audible and visible, sir?
You are audible. You are audible and visible. Yes, please go ahead.
Thank you so much, sir. My humble greetings to all the eminent dignitaries in this meeting. Puthandu Varthakal and Vishu Asamsagal. Before beginning, I would like to thank Dr. Maria Priti Srinivasan, I'm head of the Department of English, Queen Maris College, for being my guardian angel. And I thank our chairperson today for the insights he's giving us. And to begin with acknowledgement, it was my called a Netflix movie Edgar Allan Poe. So the movie is based on Edgar Allan Poe's Telltale Heart, where there's a murder and dismembering of the organs, and how the heart signifies the aesthetics of human life itself. Even though the movie is based on this central idea from one particular short story of of the writer, the movie has other elements. For instance, the main detective of the movie is called Lander, which comes from another text of Poe, The house of Landers, and then the Edgar Allan Poe himself. For instance, there's a scene where the detective meets Poe, whose help he takes in solving the crime, and then there's Poe saying that his name is Edgar A. Poe because he never liked to pronounce his middle name Allen because that comes from his foster father, and he never had a healthy relationship with him. So there are movies which run parallel to the text, and there are uh, the Bond franchise by Ian Fleming. So whenever there is a movie and I have only the title and connection between the movie and the movie. Here, The Diary of a Wimpy Kid, written by Jeff Kenney, and the movie and the book, they are neither complement. They are neither an extension, no, they run parallel or contradictory. This movie and the book are complementary. So whenever there's a gap in the book, the movie fills it, and what the movie does not have in the book, the movie fills in. Now, very personal account, and the movement is quite smooth, and the conversational movement of the content helps the reader to get involved. It's much like Night or Traveler. So the reader becomes one of the characters, and the reader sees what the writer sees and explains. Here, in that Diary of the Wimpy Kid, the plot is about a middle schooler who goes through the impediments of betrayals and surviving through middle school. Now, this book has been on the bestseller list of New York Times for over 6 years. Won the award of being the most favorite in the 2010 book list. It speaks about the point of the movie was nominated to win the best animation award. However, the movie and the book seem to be important in certain way, especially with regards to their narratology. Now, the book moves quite humorously. So the reason why the author writes the book in the first place is that he says that when he is going to become big and definitely be rich and famous, and then there'll be so many people asking about him, about his earlier life, how he was at school, how well he made friends and all that, and he would just give them this journal. Here's my journal, read it and learn it all by yourself, shoo shoo shoo. And goes, the other last who have to shave twice a day. And there are so many instances of humor in this, the whom he has to take care of, and the child after eating potty, and he has to scrape it off and for not finishing his meal, and he would just say if she had to scrap cereals from plastic potty, she would know all these. So the movie, the book moves quite humorously. At the same time, it focuses on certain important themes. Besides having a simple plot, speaking of the sophistication in the book, it is quite again postmodern in technique. For instance, there's this element of contradiction. The book is titled as The Diary of a Wimpy Kid, and the line of the book starts as, this is not a diary, this is a journal. The writer other aspects like there's this short circuit in the tale, where throughout the passing of the book, there's so much of reading is that the themes handled. Now, uh, as the book is set in the world of middle school children, it's children, and for instance, bullying, how they are bullied by their own classmates, they are bullied by their sarcastically dealt here, and the gender for Christmas, and then this father gets into this huge argument that a boy should never play with dollhouses, and there's again this argument between the father and the mother that a child should be allowed to choose what sort of toys they play because that is the healthy environment where they can grow. But obviously, there are so many ideas coming in that will make him girly, or he made him call per se or sisse. So there's so much of gender stereotypes. There's also instances like girls are often worried about gossiping or what nail polish they could wear, or if at all there's a robot in the future, how it should come with varieties of lip glosses, shades, and this book shows all these to us. And then there's this racial prejudice, which is also seen in this book. So there's the child explaining about the classroom setup, and there's this there's study who are achieving in a sarcastic way, and Indians have this body build that is portrayed in the book. Now, coming to the movie does not show these. So this way, the movie happens to be complementary. Now, there's this latest 2022 version of Persuasion in Netflix by Cracknell, and in order to be over inclusive, the movie made a step. The movie made a step which was highly criticized. Interracial who are Asians, which is actually not the aspect of to make the way they try to make a change actually the racial stereotypes or the gender stereotypes. This movie is about how he makes friends and how he tries to retain friends and how he learns to this aspect where the book does not portray any moral. So that is another specialty of the book. The neither upright virtuous no vicious characters in the book. So everyone is an opportunistic, so realistic. Whenever they get, for instance, bully other people, he does that even though he's personally a victim of bullying. And when he bullies all these little kids from kindergarten, and people mistake that it is actually Rowley, his friend, and they mock him and they complain Rowley to the principal, he just throws his friend under the bus and trying not to explain that it was actually his friend comic strip idea, and he gains popularity at school by from from his friend, and he uses it as his own, and he gains popularity in the school. So a child is represented as a child, and that is interesting in the book. But here in the movie, it ends with a sort of moral that it is important to do the right thing, and it is always important to have a best friend. So here the movie happens to be from the book. So the lot of editors in the movie which appear quite superficial and as this a brother who is frightening this Greg Heffley about getting a kindergartner's bicycle as a Christmas gift from his friend comes as the opening scene in the movie. So there are so many disorientations, yet the movie complements the book. So that way, this and why this book is becoming a cult. Now, in Ireland, it was quite fascinating because children who begin to learn use this book, and this book has proven to improve their cognition. So the humorous mode of it and the narrative technique, be it the fictional diary form or the usage of sarcasm, all these proved to be easy read for people. And through this way, the the and all that. So all these author tries not so hard to smoking in middle school. So there are so much of in the middle school there are children who smoke, and there's this anti-smoking contest, and the kid who wins the contest is actually a chain smoker. But that it wakes up the audience. So that way the book is a must read, and the book is a must read, and the book is also a stress buster. So it just ensures that the movie happens to be has not. And thank you so much for the opportunity. I would like to thank the patrons, Dr. Rufus sir, for his academic vigor, Dr. Aparna ma'am, Dr. Srilata ma'am, and thanks to Dr. Nancy ma'am for always being patient with me. Special mention to Dr. Anita ma'am, who never gave up on me, and Dr. Miss Sangita ma'am for always trusting in me. Thank you so much.
Good, Senyavel. It's a good presentation. Okay, yeah. So as you said, that the book is a must read and the movie is a must watch. I do agree with your idea. Yes, and the very success of this because the book is very popular, and even I had my own doubts in what way they are going to make this movie to be very successful. And I believe the success is what the visual style they made that closely resembled the illustration in the book. Okay, yes, and the hand-drawn animation and the live action footage combined together, it was a real visual treat. Yes, so a good presentation. Good, fine. Yes. So through these three presentations, we we try to understand our level best to know about the nuances behind making a movie out of literature, okay, of books. So though it is a big challenge, but we had seen successful stories here. At the same time, there are a few failures too. Like especially as I told you, when you make a popular work, the expectations will be so high. For example, you take Da Vinci Code by Dane Brown. Okay, there was a very high expectation, and when it was in production, okay, we came to know that Howard is the Oscar-winning director and what Oscar-winning actor doing a big project, and there are a lot of expectations. Unfortunately, it was not so good, and the movie is a total flop. So there are certain use also, but the success stories we have to take from the what get things from the success stories, and the movies have been adapted very well. So as a whole, yes, as rightly ma'am mentioned, okay, we need to get a lot of theoretical insights to know more about the nuances in the what in converting the words to what visual images. So with these words, okay, I thank the Department of English, Dr. P.T. Srinivas, and the department for giving this wonderful platform, because I see a lot of first time postgraduate students their academic presentations. So it's a wonderful platform, and I appreciate the department for doing such initiatives. Thank you.
Thanks to all three presenters. Uh, Chairperson, may I just have a moment to give one or two insights? Siddharth sir? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
say that as
Yes.
a whole, it was very informative,
Yes.
and
Yes.
yeah,
Also on what is it? The prize-winning novel becomes is selected to be made a movie, critical acclaim as a book, gets critical acclaim as a film. So that's the medium chosen for for narrating. Does that make it a prize-winning story? So the idea of a prize-winning narrative, we need to engage with that as well, because that is our theme for this whole academic. Wanted to reinforce that. Otherwise, it was great. And thank you, Siddharth, for share all that you know. Anyhow, we are going to have a postgraduate conference. Rufus sir and I will be talking about it. International Postgrad Conference. So at that time, we would like you to be one of the keynote speakers. Thank you, Rufus sir. Thank you, Senyavel. Srimati, you
Thank
want?
you, ma'am.
Yeah, Srimati, you can give the vote of thanks and close down.
Okay, ma'am. I deem it a great privilege to propose the vote of thanks on behalf of the In Tandem Club. I thank our respected principal, Dr. B. Uma Maheshwari Madam, for her support and kind patronage extended to us. Thank you, Madam. I would like to thank our Head of the Department of English, Dr. Maria Preeti Sinivasan Ma'am, for her presence and contribution to our In Tandem Research Club. I would like to thank our chairperson, Dr. P. Sitharthan, for making this session. I would like to thank our paper presenters, Ms. Swetha, Ms. Kavya Bharathi, Ms. Senyavel, committee members, and others for being a part of today's In Tandem, and uh, meet you all in our next meet on 21st April. Have a great weekend. And thank
Thank you, Dr. Maria Preeti.
Thank you, Dr. Shobha. Please stay with us in this
Sure,
journey.
sure. Looking forward.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a great help
Yeah,
when you
students
call
have
all
put a
your.
lot of efforts. Yeah, we should kind of encourage them.
Very kind of you to join us.
No
Thank you.
problem at all. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. See you. Bye.